Welcome to today's episode of Let's Get Creative podcast. And today we are talking a very interesting topic about finding your right clients. And finding clients is something that you have to kind of, there's no like secret formula to it. It's like people will just think that it's like a hit and miss kind of thing throughout your entrepreneurial journey. There's always like one or two that is very distinct. And if you still haven't found your, the best client ever kind of thing, you might be thinking how you should find one. And is there any red flags if you find bad ones? But the good news is there's not a lot of bad ones if you do it correctly. I have seen companies that struggle to find that special magic formula to find a gold pot of amazing clients. I do have my own set of stories to share on finding the right clients or how to actually see the bad clients that's coming, or you can smell who are the bad clients. And today we also have a guest, a co-host today to help me host this particular episode. And he's nonetheless Vincent, but he is first, I would say he is the second or the third overseas guest that I have today. And he will also share his own experience on how we can find our own during this pandemic, of course, post-pandemic. Because you don't want to kind of stuck in the sense that you don't want to stuck throughout your whole entire journey to find lousy clients. So this is something that you need to learn for yourself. And so welcome, Vincent, to today's episode.
Thank you, cyancong. It's an honor to take this opportunity to talk to cyancong and then to share some of my not experiences, but just sharing some of my latest journey to all the audience that listening right now. So basically, where I'm coming from was I was coming from Hong Kong, and I get the chance to sit down and talk to cyancong about some of our working philosophy or style, that how we nurture or communicate with different clients across different countries, or like in Singapore and Hong Kong. And to me, because where I'm coming from is most of the time creating like a social video or viral contents, meaning like video production. So actually we have a lot of like similar topics that when I talk to cyancong. So that's why I was lucky enough to sit down here and then to talk to you some of my experiences, and maybe some of them can echo about your experiences as well as an audiences. So where maybe later on, if we got the chance to to share more experiences, just feel free to pick a call or just let us know. I think it's a very good way that we can further communicate with each other.
Yeah. Thanks, Vincent, for being part of this podcast for business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. And if you are very new here, I really welcome you to this community. It's really a space where we can learn from each other. And I'm no expert, but I'm just sharing my experience, my journey along the way. And if I feel there's something that is really worthy to know, because it's always about finding sales, right, Vincent? But that's not always the case. I would rather, at least from my point of view, do chime in if you feel that you need to. I would rather find very valuable clients that can last you a lifetime, or hopefully, if it's 10, 20 years down the road, rather than always seeking out for new ones. Yeah, because I feel like the people that stick with you actually should be your bread and butter of your business. And this is how you can stabilize your business in that sense. You can't be every month looking for new ones. Okay, unless you are in services that only comes one time in their own experience, be it whichever things you are looking for. One good example is weddings. People usually only get married once. So you won't get to see them a second time. If you are so lucky that you happen to see them a second time, then maybe you can refer them to a marriage counselor or something so that they can last a lifetime with their partners. Yeah, but in most cases, like for our businesses, usually they are recurrings. But you have to give them a good reason to recur with you. You can't just sit there and expect that they will come back. That's something that I felt that if you find the right clients, you would happen to see this behavior over and over again. But for Vincent, do you happen to have like a set of regulars?
Not regulars, I would say, but when I hear about what you just mentioned about your journey when working with different clients, especially those wedding videos, they're all pre-work, by the way. It's fascinating. The way that I see in terms of working with different clients throughout my whole, agency journey, is I would rather, I would say it's kind of like a partnership rather than just treat them as, one-off client or you pay me for my work, you pay me for my services, stuff like that. Of course, on the surface, it seems to be like that because, sometimes the client actually didn't have those resources, or sometimes they just didn't know how they should craft the video in a way that can promote their products or services. So they come to us as a service provider. But normally, if I can, I would rather label myself not just a service provider, but being a kind of like a trusted partner to them. You see, from my point of view, basically partnership can be divided into two different areas. So one is functional partner and one is trusted partner. So functional partner, obviously, you're just talking about the services that you deliver to them, right? You have the cameras, you have the crew, you know the skills on how to doing all the post-production, in a sense, like to be fitting in different social media platforms like YouTube, like Facebook, you know how to craft it, stuff like that. And it's just delivering the product to them. And then it seems like they just, finish up their homework. So they just task fulfilled it, that's all, and then say bye-bye. But to me, I feel like one of the ideas that I have to set up this company, VM Studio, is I want to have a long-term relationship with different. I still use the word clients, but actually, I would treat them as a friend. I would, instead of like just receiving their brief, instead of like showcasing to them about my rate card, stuff like that, which is too standard to me, I will actually take one step further and then to talk to them, sit down, and then to, doing kind of like a Zoom video, or actually really sit down and have a coffee with them to ask them, why do they want to have a video? Why do they want to do certain things? Sometimes it may be annoying because I keep asking why. But at the end of the day, if the person who actually received these messages from my point of view, he or she would know that, basically he's just trying hard. Vincent is trying hard to put himself into my shoes, into my status, into my situation. And then at the end of the day, once I immerse myself into his situation, then I would know exactly how I can use my experiences, how I can use my knowledge. I'm not, again, same as you, Cyancong, I'm not an expert, or I'm not a very professional videographer or stuff like that, but I'm just using my knowledge, existing knowledge, that how I can leverage on his burden to help them to achieve what he wants to achieve. And then we do some, after works measurements, stuff like that. So I believe that at the moment, what I'm looking for as my company or as my personal career journey is to build up a trusted partners or a trusted relationship across, no matter it's client, no matter it's friendship or whatsoever. So I think it's kind of like connecting myself into a business to my personal philosophy. So and this, that would make things more smooth and make things more like whenever you promise to the partners, then you can deliver something that as you promise. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 2 points that you mentioned really stands out in my head right now. I'm just thinking out loud. One point you say that having working partners, functioning partners, is something that is quite true. Because there are a lot of, I would say that as much as there are people that think that way, like us, there are also people that with silo mentality,
Yeah.
and which is quite toxic. And one good example is, if I'm not sure, actually, I'm not sure whether you have hang out in any co-working space or any co-working cafes. I'm not sure whether Hong Kong have such arrangement.
A lot.
A
Yeah.
lot, right? And you notice that everybody is just on their laptop, and there's no communication, there's no feedbacks, there's no sort of like working togetherness. Even so, they are at that space, and it's quite weird. Like, what's the point of you trying to be there or fit in as a co-working space when you don't even co-work? And there are
Exactly.
actually a lot of opportunities around. It's just that people are just very fixated on what they are doing at the task that they are doing right now, which is kind of a toxic mindset, which I strongly encourage. If you are listening at this moment, one good tip, which I felt that I think Vincent said it very well, is to try to find working partners or functioning partners. At the very least, they would kind of inspire you and make you accountable to certain things that you might be working at. They might even give you ideas or maybe tips and tricks that you can avoid actually if you just bother to voice out.
Yeah.
And I felt that having conversation with Vincent, we actually spark each other in the sense of like not just the creative aspects, but how we handle business. I think things like that actually do give us some sort of like a direction to go. At the very least, some ideas if you don't have. And another point that you mentioned, I think, was putting yourself into a customer's shoes. Uh, and at the very start, you should have this mentality uh, with or without the client signing with you. I think a
Exactly.
lot of people at the very start they might be only wanted to throw something out until client sign a contract or something. Then they would want to offer their service. And I think at this time and age, it shouldn't be that way. You should be open to give the value first, but you don't. But you must be very tactical to it. It shouldn't be like I'm throwing every single thing. But there are some situation where I feel that I felt like there's some sort of connection with my clients, and even if they don't sign, I was very open to it. I was like, hey, if you feel like you need to you want to take this idea and just do on your own, or get someone that it could fit onto your budget, please do so. And they were shocked. They were definitely shocked. They were like, oh, Yun Chong, but why? Like, we felt bad. And I think once you kind of being transparent and open with your clients, even if they don't sign you, you will have a very distinct impression to them. It's like, hey, no hard feelings, man. I mean, it might felt like, because the moment you voiced it out, they might feel like they are the douchebags.
True.
But if you don't voice it out
True.
and you hold grudges and you be like, oh my God, they are like this, then you have this negative takeaway experience, which
True.
I felt that is very toxic also.
True.
So in my process, I always try to see the positive of it. Like, end of the day, you earn their respect, and and maybe months down the road, if they have some success, and they have maybe have their more budget to to achieve what you want them to achieve,
Yeah.
they will definitely remember you and they will swing back.
Yeah.
And it's always a hit and a miss. There's no guarantee kind of thing. But as long as you give a good taste, be it in the pre-production, the production, or the post-production, some sort of like a connection, which is usually you want to find the right clients usually at the very start, like the mingling, the talking, to understand what's their objective, to really to have that sympathy and that kind of vision for them. And if they feel it, they will retain and become your rightful clients lah. Which is these 2 points that really resonate a lot. Maybe at this point, Vincent, if you have anything to chime in right now, if
Oh,
not,
a little bit, because I hear you very well, and I really completely agree with you. And especially there's two things that you just mentioned. The first one is about connections with the clients. I think it's very important that once you get in touch with somebody else and somebody saying that, hey, oh, you're doing a video, you're a video guy. So I got this issue. Can we just talk about it? Blah blah blah. I think the one thing that I was looking for is not just a business opportunity on the first or second meeting. I was actually the same as you do, looking for a connection in between myself and into his or her businesses. what he or she is facing right now and how I can not just functionally help them, but emotionally can understand their situations. And on the other hand, I also need to showcase to them that what kind of support I need to look from their point of view back to me. It's not just money dollar. Of course, money is good, right? Nobody will say no to money. But on the other hand, there is something more that I need from them, like more information, like more resources, like more input so that I can help them to craft the story in a way that can fulfill their ultimate goals or business goals or whatsoever. Then this is something that I think is mutually, we need to mutually connected. I still remember the first time that I sit down and talk to Cyancong. I think it's an early morning call. It's a couple of weeks ago. And then we just sit down. And originally, I don't have any agenda to talk to you, right? So I just want to say, hey, hi, I admire your work, Cyancong, stuff like that. And then we talk for the whole morning, nearly like 1.5 hours or something. I forgot
Yeah,
how long exactly for.
crazy long.
Yeah. It was just like the way that we want to, understand your business first and then to let people know about my situation. It's kind of like two ways of open the door. So I need to be open and somehow the other persons who sit down and look for my support, he or she also need to be keep open-minded and open heart. So this is the way that once everybody can be more transparent in a way, so then we can be easily more easily to be get connected. And second point that you mentioned about sympathy, well, I totally agree with you. I think at the moment of this situation, like the COVID-19, I think it feels like I'm talking about nonsense, but everybody is struggling at this moment of time. Everybody got their own battle to be fighting with, no matter where you're in Singapore, in Hong Kong, or in other places in the world. So everybody is facing difficulties, to be honest. But on the other hand, I mean, if from client perspective, right? From client's perspective, if he or she can actually somehow show a little bit in terms of their own vulnerability to us in a way that, oh, you know what, I'm really, really struggle about this part. I really, really don't know how I can do it. Or even I can, most of the time I hear clients telling me that, I actually really don't know whether videos can support my business. To be honest, I really don't know. But I just need to look for advice or support. As frank as this kind of sentences, that can give me a feeling that, oh, you are actually really looking for help and looking for advice or looking for sharing. It's not just talking about a business transaction, but talking about a kind of looking for partners, looking for more insights. And that would make the situations, because you showcase to me your vulnerability, right? So to me, I would have a sense of feeling more empathy to his or her situations. And then we can, based on that emotional engagement, and then to move on to one more step to do more in terms of thinking ahead, and then to see how we can, do the video stories in a way that can, minimize the budget. And then on the other hand, to be look good, and then to, build up the momentum for the branding, or then to attract more customers, stuff like that. So yeah, I completely agree with you, Yanchong. So it's I just have another thought. So yeah, sorry to jump in a little bit.
Hey, no worries. If you have any part that you feel that you should chime in, do let me know. Say, hey, Chong, I want to say something. Then I'll definitely let you kind of
Okay.
chime in. I think it's good to have this kind of a two-way street,
Okay.
and there is always room to kind of discuss. But
Okay.
at this
Okay.
point of time, maybe I'll add. I'll just maybe say the first point. If you have listened and you have gained so much noise right now, do share this podcast out because it's really good that entrepreneurs be able to hear this at their, usually I listen to podcasts is in the morning. When I'm clear-headed, I'm having my cup of coffee, and this is where I listen to other people's podcasts, not my own, of course. But okay, at this point, maybe I will just kind of add this particular topic that I would want to kind of motivate people. It's actually your story of how you find the best client you ever had. Maybe you can start first, then I will share mine later.
Finding the best client, I think it's always a bit of challenging, to be very honest, because what we're just sharing about the trusted relationship, it really takes time, right? So undoubtedly, I think nearly 90% of prospects or clients that I have came across with, definitely they are looking for some functional deliverables first. like I need the videos. Can you help me? So I have this budget. I have this requirement, blah, blah, blah. So can you help me to fulfill that? It's just like a checklist. So, well, that's the reality. So I think no matter what, you need to accept it and then to take a look on those measurable things to see whether you can, deliver what the clients would like to have. And that is something that I think it's a very big at the very first stage of engaging with clients. That's the first step. But most of the time, once you are passing through the first step and then go on to the second steps where you work on the videos, you do the shooting, and then you do the post-production, and then something already delivered to the clients, I think most of the time is the follow-up that I believe is more valuable to your client. Is you maybe after all the works, after all the things you have done, just pick up a call, do some WhatsApp, and then just follow with the clients nicely. Hey, how's things going? So haven't heard from you for a while. So how's the feedback of the video? So how do you like it? Stuff like that. The purposes of that call or that follow-up conversations is not just looking for more business opportunities, but on the other hand, you need to set your own agenda that you want to craft a deeper relationship with this client because you have already done your work. You have already showcased to them about your portfolios in a real situations because you're actually doing work for them. So just be open again, and then to let them know that we really care about how you think about my work. And I do really care that if I get a chance to sit more closely to you, what sort of things I can do better. So this is something that is a mutual way to improve ourselves. And so I'm not too sure I answer your questions directly, but to find the best client, to be very honest with you, across my whole agency journey, I'm still looking for one. But there's nothing perfect, right? There's nobody call themselves as perfect unless you're Superman or Iron Man in the comic world. But I would rather say that rather than looking for the best client, I was actually challenging myself to be the best partner for the client itself. So this is something that in terms of my own way of feeling. Yeah.
I think it's definitely a mindset shift. There's always this line drawn between clients and partners, and I think how people treat clients and partners is very different. But if
It
you can kind of
is.
like create this Venn diagram of like them being at the very center, like
Yeah,
if in future if they can merge these two together into this gray zone of how you
exactly.
should treat your clients, I think that would be the best way. In on maybe on my elements, I would say more. I would actually because since you have kind of bring us through like the beginning, middle, and end. Maybe I want to talk more about the beginning, where the elements I feel that a few things that I stick to. I always, I would say, I will set the expectations. Expectations are quite low, so but I will always over deliver.
Cool.
And with this kind of synergy, which I always tell my client, like I will always think of the worst case scenarios. Like maybe I will. It's not like because I want to yank up the price, but I would say like things may happen or will happen, will happen. So maybe I will just kind of like tell him like instead of the most straight cut way is like, oh, when could you deliver the video? Yeah, it's like, hey, editing can take like 3 weeks to maybe 1.5 months. That includes bouncing back and forth of maybe certain revisions and maybe add some graphic effects that will take slightly longer.
Yeah.
But I say rest assured, I'll try my best to deliver as fast as I can. So usually they have an expectation of maybe 1 month, okay, 1 month of editing. Then maybe I'll deliver within like 2 weeks, for example. Then once they receive it, like, oh my god, I received like 2 weeks, instead of like a month that you promised, and that usually kind of gives some positive points. And this is like one of those checkpoints where your clients can feel something from you, because through the process there will be a few important milestones that your clients get to interact with you. So when you set expectation, there's like one milestone that's before the project starts. Then once you kind of deliver before the timeline actually hits, you also kind of have this touch point with your customers that they will feel like, oh, okay, you really over delivered. Of course, there are other things like maybe pricing, maybe time save, money save, that kind of thing that your clients could feel. But this is just one of the elements that I felt that could work. Another element that I felt that could work is being transparent, being really upfront about it, and I think that's considered my superpower. I don't sugarcoat my things. I would just, once my clients, always my clients, they will just come to me straight in the face and say, hey, YC, I need this, and my budget is this. Do you think you can do it? And usually I just tell them, hey, with what you are looking at, maybe we can definitely kind of make some arrangement. I don't say like, oh no, or I don't think it can work. I would try my best to fit into their narrative with what they have to offer. So if it's like, I always tell my client, okay, there's a $500 way of doing something, and there's a 5,000 way of doing something. Sure, if you have like $1,000, okay, we can work with it 1,000 and see how we can strike a balance. I will remove certain things and say, hey, maybe you don't need this, or maybe you don't need a talent. Okay, maybe you have a staff that's ready to go. That's like super good at speaking. I say, hey, that's good. We have that. Then we can definitely save some money and work with that. But of course, I will have like a no kind of like a price line. Below certain thing, I'll be like, maybe I'm not the right one. Which is a good segue for me to kind of bring our listeners right now to the point of like, how do you actually say no? And do you actually say no to your clients when business come to your door? Yeah,
It's
maybe
really
Vincent,
hard
you
to
can
do
start.
so, right? I mean, well, there are always situations like it's getting conflict with your creative concepts to their business objectives or their internal users or counterparts comments, to be honest. So, I mean, at this moment, I would say it's rather easy to handle because my scale of business is still just a minimal scale. But I just date back to the days that I was working in big agencies, like there are creative teams, video teams where you involve a lot of like production crew, like directors and producers. Then you need to channel back those like difficult situations to all the team members, and then to get a mutual consent is very difficult. And so this is one point that I would like to share is talking about when you say no to clients, you really need to think whether you should say no or whether there are other options for you to counter propose to your clients. Because at the end of the day, the success of the success of the project, the video project, is not just determined by yourself. It's actually determined by a team spirit, a team, how the team can work all together, right? And I'm just thinking about like there's one time that we worked with a big client, a globally well-known financial company, financial client, a banking client. And then we do a lot of like videos for them. And then there's one time that the clients actually really didn't like the storyboard. And then we really need to nearly redo everything at the pre-production stage. Luckily, we still haven't yet started to do the shooting. So everything ideally can still be manageable. But the situation is the storyboard has been running through like already like 5 or 6 times already. And the team is already burning out. Like, oh, you want me to restart again and then recraft again based on another brief? Oh, come on, man. Something like that. So it's because what we're talking about right now, doing video is kind of like a people business, right? We need to work with different teams. We need to respect
Right.
everybody's point of view. So once I got the feedback from the clients, I really need to sit down with the teams and then to understand where the teams are coming from, why we have this thought of like doing this storyboard. You need to be highly involved in the whole production situations where you need to work very closely with the teams, understanding their point of view, and then to see whether there are things that you can try to not asking the clients to sit down to talk to your production crew members, of course, but trying to put yourself into the client's shoes and then to say, hey, I really need to have something like this here. I really need to solve it out. How can I do this? Just something like you really need to sometimes bend down yourself and then just not back into them, but to let them know that this is your vulnerability moment. This is your moment that you need to let them know that, hey, I really have these difficulties, how I can do this. And then to let the teams know that if you want to move on, you really need to work facing these situations and then to think about solutions. So I mean, normally in normal situations, I won't say no to a client in a way, because that would hurt the client's feeling. And this is not just client's feeling, it will hurt somebody's feelings as well, right? If that you try to imagine that you are looking for some help or some solutions, and somebody just tell you that no, you need to pay for me for more, or hey, it's not going to happen unless you blah blah blah. It's not just very rude, but in a way that you are not understand my situations. Then why should I come to you and ask for help, right? So being helpful sometimes is being understand what the people is looking for. So there are a lot of I would say difficult moments that I can think of when you ask me this question, say no to clients. But normally I would try to, instead of saying no, I would first of all ask them why you want to have this idea, and then I would just keep on following up to give them more options for them to work internally, or for them to rethink about their strategies before we move on. So yeah, that's my sharing. Yeah.
I think, thanks, Vincent, for quite an insightful one. I think you are the perfect person that mentioned very well on saying no. Same for me, because we are in the creative industry, and there is always a certain expectation from your clients that are maybe unrealistic. In their head, maybe a very easy to explain example would be like filming from an iPhone and filming from a normal produced digital camera. They might not see the difference until if we flag it out, and maybe talents could affect how they see visually, and they might think that, oh, actually it's the same thing. I feel that saying no is a perfect opportunity to educate them. It might not be, you might not gain the sale, but ultimately you educate the client and say, hey, totally understand, like you have some resistance in terms of the price tag or certain things, but hey, at the very least, what you got from us is you got educated, you kind of understand how the industry works. And at least for me, 9 out of 10 clients are maybe first timers of getting a production to kind of shoot or to conceptualize things for them. So they might feel a bit foreign to them. And of course, you have to assume that they totally don't know. And I think that's where you build a connection, where you understand, oh, maybe this client have worked with other production company, or how their experience. They might have very negative experience with previous customers. That's why they find you. And from there, you have to kind of understand their psychographic, like exactly why they feel that way, or maybe they might feel very resisted or resistance to certain process of the production, or they might want to be very controlled, very like super obsessed with certain things. And from there, you kind of should navigate. Are you willing to kind of like play in that particular scope that they are throwing to you with X amount of price that they are paying? If you can't cross over that particular line of like, nah, it's not worth the time and money, then it's your responsibility, which I think a lot of people don't do very correctly, is to help them find another solution, another alternative, or a cheaper alternative that you can still handle, or maybe you can handle, but you throw it to your interns or something just to execute it, so that you don't burn the time, you don't burn the relationship. But one way, because my agency or my own video production company is quite small, I'll usually redirect to a smaller scale production company where they may be able to execute for them at a lower cost. And I would say that, hey, compared to them, they definitely can handle based on your job scope. I don't say like based on quality. I think that is quite insulting to the other person that I'm trying to toss the ball to. I will just say that for your price point, then they might be a better fit. But I will definitely hook them up in the sense that I'll create a WhatsApp group. I'll actually cross-introduce each other, like make sure that they are properly hand over first. Then maybe you can let go and let them do the talking. This is how I usually say no to my clients, but I will make sure that I do my best to offer based on their price point. But at the end of the day, if I could handle it on my own account, I'll definitely do so. Like I have clients that actually outright tell me, like in front of my face, they say, hey, the job that we are throwing to you, why not throw it to your interns? Because it's a very boring and a very repetitive kind of thing. Like every month you need to generate X amount of video, but which are like 20 seconds long, and the edit doesn't really take like a genius to kind of create it. Even they offer to do the storyboard themselves. Yeah, they're like, hey, could you cut costs if I kind of do the storyboard? Because I think they want certain control, they want certain branding control.
Yeah.
But they already have like a process, but they just want to outsource this. Then they say like, hey, why not we just pay your interns and you just get a cut out of it. Then they can just come to your house and just shoot and edit. Like as long as I can provide the workstation and all, they don't mind paying me money. So it's like a recurring kind of thing. And I feel like the whole demographic, talking about long-term clients, have shifted. In the past, we were just looking for ad hocs, like maybe just referral there and maybe a sudden job event there, just kind of fill up the gaps. But I think at this moment of time, the clients are looking for, or I would say like clients are looking for long-term content creation to their aspect, partly also because we are all slowly digitalize our business. So the way is like, how can I do it cheap, but to do it consistently that can pay off for itself. And I think it's a great shift of mindset, but it's also very dangerous if you don't know how to navigate. I think this is another topic for another session, because I think talking about psychographic, I think it's like a whole new thing.
Very true.
But I would navigate through maybe this last point would be during this COVID, was there any change in terms of incoming clients or behaviors or client behaviors? And if there's any tips of how we can handle our clients?
I think most of the audiences who is sitting right now in front of the camera listening to our conversations would definitely agree that during this period of time, I think in terms of the most significant change would be the budgeting, the marketing budget that is spent from every single dollars out of the pocket of the client side, right? So, very, very honestly, a lot of people, a lot of companies, no matter you are SME or big enterprises, you are being more conservative in terms of spending a marketing budget. And in particular, video is not cheap, to be very honest, because if you involve so many people doing video shooting or involve somebody else to do the brainstorming, no matter it's pre-production, post-production, again, as I just mentioned, it is people business. So if you involve a lot of team members into the whole production stage, there will be, salary incurred. There will be a lot of like equipments you need to rental, post-production. You need to spend a few dollars doing a kind of like a software upgrade or spending a lot of manpowers to do all the post-production. And it's all money. So I believe that the most significant change will be the budgeting. And so right now it's actually, so this is where I'm coming from. So whenever you face the challenges of the client saying that, hey, I really have this limited budget, but I really need to do certain things, stuff like that. So you really need to sit down and then to, ask yourself a big questions, whether I can help the client or not. And YC, I completely agree with you. And I really, really like the way that you share your portfolios across different, I would say, your working partners, in a sense like, hey, if this is something that out of my control or something that after my evaluations and my self-evaluations, I don't think it's something that I can, fulfill the client's needs, I will just pass along and give them counter suggestions to, pass along to my working counterparts to see whether they can do it or not. This is a very, very generous, yet a very good way to build up the relationships with your clients, because actually you're not saying no to the clients. Actually, you're giving them options, as I just mentioned, options to them to see, hey, you know what, there's a better option for you. But of course, there's one more thing I would like to address is to, even during this period of time, COVID-19, I think as an entrepreneur or as a owner for certain things of like a video production, something like YC and myself, is you need to be brave and then to be confident in yourself and let the people who come to you and ask for support and then you give them suggestion like, hey, this is something I really think that I can help you, and be confident whenever the client say no to you, just be confident and let them know that this is the way that you feel, that the way you thought is the best solutions for them, is the best one at this certain moment of time, at this budgeting. And then afterwards, let the clients rethink about that. If he or she accepts that, that would be perfect, then we can work along. But if no, doesn't mean that it's going to be a dead end, doesn't mean that. It's just like at this moment of time, your relationship with the client need to put a pause, just a pause. Who knows? Because maybe after several period of time, later on we will come across with the same client. He or she is actually changing his or her career to another company. Maybe there's another need. And maybe because of your braveness, because of your self-confidence and counter-proposing something to the person that you talked to him previously, he or she remember that. And then later on, he will find that your uniqueness of your business, in terms of your business. So they will come back and look for your support. So again, COVID-19 changed everything, changed the business perspective, changed your budgeting, change the client's, I would say, perspective in looking their needs for creating videos, and also changes our mindset too. Changes as a video creator or video producer, how we can deliver something differently to different clients, right? We are not just talking about focusing on big enterprises. We're talking about SMEs. We're talking about sole proprietor. They are also all looking for different level of video supports at this stage. So why don't us also be open and then keep an open mind, keep an open hearted to look for things that we may find is suitable for different clients. And then once we get a chance to talk to them, try to listen first. I always remind myself to shut my mouth and then to listen. I hope that I do a pretty good job at this podcast by listening to YC. So listening is a very important element. So I don't know how you feel, YC. What do you think?
I think you summarized very well in terms of how you should handle clients and how the demographic and the psychographic of clients have changed. And we do have to change as a business model to pivot ourselves to understand like what they actually need. And this is why the listening comes in. Like we really had to sit down and really understand, because ultimately you want the best for your clients. You don't just want to just deliver whatever they think they want. Situations where I share my ideas and end up after sharing like each other's vision and goals, or at least my clients' vision and goals, I told them that, hey, you don't even need this. Like at this point of time, you think you need this, but actually you can save some money by doing another digital marketing aspect of things. Video is definitely in the future pipeline, is definitely not as of now. And they should focus on certain aspect. And I was like redirecting them to like one of my digital agency friends that they were running, and end up they took over the account and they managed to do something out of it. And from there, I might not have the money, I might not have the business, but at the very least, they got what they want. And to me, I felt like it's a matchmaking of a process. If they could matchmake into my business goals for them, then definitely we can definitely do something about it. And I think this is a very good segue to kind of end this podcast, because I feel that it's just right amount of information to find your ideal clients. And I really thank Vincent for spending his morning with me to share this important bite-sized information for the listeners out there, wherever you are. I notice most of my listeners are in the US. They are listening to kind of build their own business, to be able to find the right clients and be very comfortable in working with them and not feel like it's just a business transaction. It's also an emotional service transaction that you're going for. And if you can't really take away everything that we have spoken about, I feel like the main heading for today is, there's a Bible quote of like, treat your neighbor as the people that you really love. I don't really know exactly the right quote, but I felt like if you can treat the neighbor as the one that you truly love, like you really see the best out of like their own business that you could deliver for them, then if you treat them that way, then you wouldn't have any issues. And this, I feel that it's a good ending to it. Thank you so much, though. Thank you so much for spending your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye
See you
bye.
soon. Bye.